Welcome to The Holistic Nurse with your host, Peggy Smith. Peggy will introduce and educate her viewers about the differences between alternative, holistic, and complementary medical therapies. Her goal is to empower the lay medical consumer to learn how to advocate for themselves. So now, please welcome the host of The Holistic Nurse, Peggy Smith.
Hello. What if in just 5 minutes you could reset your entire day? What if stress didn't have to build to overwhelm you and take over your life and your day before you even started? Your body has a simple way to come back to balance. And if the solution is not complicated, but it was something you could do anywhere or anytime, this show today, welcome to the Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith and our guest today, Dr. Gloria Warren. We're going to show you how 5 minutes can reset your entire day. You know, when I was younger, my mother planned my day for me, of course. My school uniform was folded up on the bed, ready. My lunch was made already the night before. And I was still getting up last minute, late for the bus, everything else. And when you start your day like that, um, it's a little stressful, and then you jump in the car and the traffic. So today we're going to show you how, with just 5 minutes, you have options to reset your day and keep on track. And if you get derailed once you get to work, uh, we have ways of just step outside for a minute or step into the restroom, uh, and you can start over again as many times as you need to get through your day in a healthy, stressless way. Hello, Gloria. Nice to see you again.
Hi. Good to be back. Always a joy. So good to see you too. I love this topic today, by the way. My gosh,
I don't know
when I was
anybody that
talking,
wakes up in the morning stressed out, and I mean,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, it's fantastic actually. I learned a lot talking with you about the topic actually, and then I started looking into the science so that we can give the viewers the science of it. But it doesn't take an hour to reset. And it doesn't take going to a retreat. It can happen in just five simple minutes. That means a lot. So, the
many times
science of the
we're trying
mind.
to show people ways of controlling stress. Yeah, I don't have time to control my stress. That just adds more stress to my life. So this,
It's stressful knowing how
a
to
lot of,
control stress.
yeah. So
So
it's like one more thing on my list to control my stress. Like, maybe your stress isn't there, then it's okay. Um,
right, right.
So in today's world, though, we're constantly stimulated. I've learned to basically keep the TV off 90% of the time, unless it's like a video for my birds. Um, you know,
Sorry. Okay.
and sometimes if I really need to get, the news at the end of the day, I wait for the late show, and that fills me in. We've got to keep our perspective, though. And if you know certain things are going to just make your stress worse, maybe if you know certain paths that you take to work are causing more stress, you might find that, you can even ask AI how to find a less stressful way that isn't miles and hours, extra driving. Because we're
Mhm.
thinking about saving gas, and you might have the most expedient route, but if there's more traffic on that route and you're stopping and going every 2 minutes, you're not saving gas. So you might want to drive just a little bit further, and not have to stop and go every 2 minutes. There's different ways, but we're constantly moving, we're constantly thinking, and if we stop to think, it's like, here we go again. I knew this was going to happen, so it's the way we talk to ourselves. That's a large part of it, Gloria. What do you think?
Mhm. Absolutely. I'm going to go into a little bit about the science of the mind and the nonstop thought process, just so you realize, the audience realizes how much they actually go through when they get so stressed. So let's take a moment and talk about something we all experience, but rarely stop to understand. And that's the nonstop thought process. Your brain does not stop. Have you ever noticed that? That even when you're trying to reset, your mind keeps going, thinking, planning, replaying conversations, worrying about what's next. It's almost like there's a constant background noise that never fully gets turned off. You can't do it. What is actually happening in the brain, though, from a scientific perspective, is the brain is designed to generate thoughts continuously. That's a good thing. It isn't a flaw, it's a survival mechanism. Your brain's primary job is to predict outcomes, identify potential threats, solve problems, keep you safe. So even when you're sitting still, your brain is still actively scanning, analyzing, processing. I mean, even if when you're learning meditation, you find out how can you actually stop it? It doesn't ever actually stop. So the default mode is a system network that becomes active when you're not focused on a task, not engaged externally, simply at rest. But here's the interesting part: the brain is not truly at rest. Instead, the default mode network is busy reflecting on the past, imaging the future, creating internal dialogue, constructing the sense of self. Boy, it sounds like a women in general, but why does but why does it become overwhelmed, because the system doesn't think, it loops, it replays, it revisits. I think we've even mentioned the hamster wheel several times, and sometimes it becomes amplified. So they call it the thought loop cycle. So let's just quickly break this down. The thought appears, that thought triggers an emotion, physical response. Then your brain reacts to that feeling by producing more thoughts, and the cycle continues. And good example is you think, I forgot something important. That creates anxiety. Oh my gosh, I forgot it. I forgot something today. It increases the heart rate. When your brain says, what if I mess something up? And now you're in a loop. Thought, feeling, thought, feeling. This is what creates that sense of mental overwhelming feeling inside. So, when we talk, how is this applied today in the modern problem? I know Peggy's really good at that topic because she was explaining things to me. So,
Well, a little bit of self-disclosure here, since I am very experienced with attention deficit disorder, and a lot of my thoughts, and
hmm
so many people, we have so many distractions. Even if you weren't born with that tendency, it feels like you've created it. Um,
yeah,
and I like to, my motto on one of the social medias is life is a series of learning experiences. So if I'm using what you're explaining and
hmm
it's a situation where I should be learning something, but it also would be nice just to, um, decrease the stimulation. How's that going to balance? I mean,
yep. The
if it
break, my
take
brain
a
never
lot,
gets a break. So,
well, isn't
hmm
that the purpose of us sleeping at night with regular sleep hours and regular
hmm
rituals
brain
and
still is going. We just don't know it half the time. uh,
well, I do know that, they say we only use like maybe 20% of our brain, throughout our lifetime. That's why, we used to think that we didn't know what neuroplasticity was, but none of us use 100% of what we were given at birth in our brain power. So if you have a genetic or a physiological accident or something, we're learning that it is possible to access parts of your brain that you've were sitting there all along and we just weren't using them.
hmm Yeah, the
So,
constant things that come at you, my gosh, I'm sure like even Peggy, when you are at work, it's the constant information, notifications, you're checking your phone, the noises from the people around you, and then the stress of accomplishing what you need to accomplish, and then the pressure to perform it correctly and exactly and specifically to the needs of the patient. There's so many things to think about. So I think the thought process actually becomes faster and louder and more repetitive. It's a cognitive overload as opposed to the cognitive load. And that cognitive load leads to something called cognitive load. So I don't know, cognitive overload sounds like to me what you go through with attention deficit. And I don't have attention deficit. I have more hyperactivity disorder. I just don't like to pay attention to things that I don't um, maybe things I already know, so I don't want to hear it again. And, but it's more of a hyperactivity thing. So my brain is constantly going and actually runs rampant sometimes. But Yeah, that's when I hit the books and get more education. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, we talked on many of our shows, though, how important it is to just set aside structured relaxation times and things like that.
Mhm.
So I'm real curious how this is going to fit in with that, and hope we don't create more stress for people after we just told them how important it is to relax. Can you elaborate a little bit?
I know, I'm sorry, but
That's
there are
okay.
things we can do, and that's what you're gonna do here, right?
Yes, I'm ready.
You're gonna show them different steps. The neuroplasticity, like you said, though, over time, this changes the brain process called neuroplasticity. The brain can learn new patterns, in other words. So, what does that mean for you as a viewer, as for all of us? It means you're not stuck with a racing mind. God, I'm so happy to hear that. And that's what we were talking about the other night. I was like, oh my God, this would be great. You're not bad at relaxing. Your brain is simply following patterns, learned patterns that you've created from the time you were born. And patterns can be changed. You can reframe the experience instead of saying, my mind won't stop. Try this. My brain is trying to protect me, but it needs guidance. Practical takeaway is that not a goal. It's it's more of a goal to eliminate thoughts and to silence the mind completely, but I don't find completely is actually practical. So it's more about creating space between thoughts, even if just a few seconds can shift your entire state. Right now, just notice, what is your mind doing? Is it racing, planning, replaying? Take a deep breath and simply observe it. Just focus on just that breath. No judgment. The moment of awareness is beginning to reset. And this is exactly why the 5-minute resets that is Peggy and I are going to talk about are so powerful, because they don't fight the mind, they gently guide it back to balance.
Well, I know in modern day our lives are so complicated, and our brain probably hasn't changed a whole lot. I mean, it's evolved to keep up with the speed, but the early Neanderthal men, cavemen, Flintstone era, they they were reacting to, they needed to stay safe while they were hunting for their food, so the food didn't eat them. I mean, at first, um,
Yeah. Hmm.
so there's so it almost seems like life was harder then, but yeah,
Hmm.
I guess, I know when I'm outdoors doing, some exercise or just walking a long time or whatever, you feel so refreshed, but also it's easier to rest and relax after a hard day outside. I mean, you
Yeah.
I'm sure, when you get done with your chickens and your other animals and everything. Um,
You know me.
but and right now one of the biggest fears, I guess, with everybody worried about AI and everything is that like you
Yeah.
didn't have enough to worry about. Now you're worrying about if you're going to even lose what you've been trained to do all your career because now there's a bot that can do it for you instead of you, rather, not for you.
Good
Um,
news though, AI is not always correct yet. So they still need you, but you need to
okay.
prepare for the future. But that
So,
chronic
well,
stress elevates cortisol and everything too, so
so it's still a matter of survival, no matter what century we're living in. Um, so you've got, you know, you- when you're saying, what if I mess something up? You're judging yourself. So,
mhm.
and that's, another, oh, well, we're going to pick this up at the break. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related disease. diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to easysense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's easysense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Hi, welcome back to the Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith, and Dr. Gloria Warren is here today to help us explain and teach us how we can just spend 5 minutes as often times in a day we need to just reset when we get a little bit off track and distracted by life, so that it doesn't interfere with our goals and what we need to accomplish every day. And although we're taking an hour to explain this, it really is just 5 minutes. And it kind of begins, well, your body operates through your nervous system. So normally, because we're rushing here and there, we're constantly in a fight or flight mode. And as Dr. Warren has suggested in the past shows that she's been on, that elevates your cortisol, increases your heart rate. You're not breathing as effectively, so the blood's not pumping through your body effectively. You're very tense, and you don't even realize you're tense sometimes until, when you're done trying to do what you're doing, you're like, what's wrong with me? My neck is stuck. I can't move it. And if you're constantly in a fatigue mode like that and stress, then your body has more inflammation and eventually you burn yourself out, because one thing that AI does have above us is that it apparently doesn't need to rest. And if it burns out, it's probably because the cat chewed on the wires and couldn't get the message through.
Mhm.
So, Gloria, what is with these 5 minutes? Are you suggesting is there like one fits all mode here, or you know?
It all depends. I mean, if you want to lower your heart rate or improve your oxygen flow or reduce stress hormones, perhaps increase mental clarity, you can do these steps. Anybody can do these steps. That's what's so nice about it. It doesn't, you could start them even today. So you can sit comfortably, place one hand on your chest if you like, one on your abdomen. It gives you something to focus on when you do this. And you inhale slowly, hold briefly, exhale slowly. So let me give you an example. This is step one, by the way. So that Peggy had mentioned to me earlier about doing. So this is your time to pause, reset, and return to balance for the next few minutes. I am going to speed this up a little because we are limited to time, but I want to show you an example about breath awareness and how you can do this first step. And it's breath awareness. There's nothing you need to do other than, just be present with me as I say it. And you don't need to be in a specific place. Simply allow yourself to be there where you are right now, listening. Okay. And also creating it in your mind. So gently bring your attention to your breath. No need to change anything, just notice it. A natural rhythm of inhale and exhale. Okay, so now slowly begin to breathe deeply. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for a moment and release. Count to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just continue this pattern. Slow inhale, gentle pause, long, steady exhale. And we're going to bring in now the next body release thought here. Bring your awareness into your body as you're breathing. Notice any areas of tension, your shoulders, your jaw, your forehead. With the next exhale, allow these areas to soften. Inhale, so let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw, smooth your brow. Feel your body becoming heavier, more supported, as if you're being gently held by space around you. So let's calm the mind now. Bring your awareness to your thoughts. You may notice your mind is still active. That's okay. There is nothing to fix. Imagine the clouds are drifting across the sky. You don't need to follow them, just observe and let them pass. If a thought pulls your attention, gently return to that breath. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, and go through the process and exhale. Let's work on your grounding now. Bring your awareness to your senses. Notice the feeling of your body, where you're sitting, your feet. Where are they? Your hands, your breath moving gently. Feel the support beneath you. You're here, you're safe, you're grounded. Allow this moment to anchor yourself in the present. So, one final step, deep breath in. Do your counting, slow exhale out. Notice how your body feels now, more calm, more centered, more clear. Carry this feeling with you as you move forward. In just a few minutes, you've reset your mind and your body. And you can now return to this anytime you need. You can do 2 minutes, like we did here. You can do 5 minutes. It works. And if you can get the 5 minutes in, it's well worth it. It's a wonderful practice, Peggy. I love it.
I think, like everything else, practice is the key word, and it doesn't mean that it's becoming a chore, but you do get better at it when you practice. Um, an example that I've used in the past, I'm not particularly fond of dentists, and I understand they have one of the highest mental health crises of all the professional doctors that deal with humans, because
Mhm.
nobody seems to like them very much. But I had trained myself, what you're describing is actually self hypnosis techniques. And I
Right.
had trained myself to, when I go to the dentist, I'm going to take myself to my happy place just as soon as they put me in that chair. And I had this one dentist, he just would not stop talking. I think he was new, he was nervous. He should have been going to his happy place. Yeah. But
Yeah.
kind of collided, and I actually said to him, "Would you please shut up? I'm trying to go to my happy place and you're interfering." And then he laughed and he said, "Oh," he said, "does it work?" Um, so we had talked a lot. I was already practicing hypnosis at that time, but many times people feel like, maybe they have an important meeting with their boss coming up after lunch, so they prepare by, if they're still one of the fortunate people that are still relying on smoking or something similar, they'll go out for 5 minutes, get fresh air, which means they're going to light
Mhm.
up and try to calm themselves down. Explain physiologically, Gloria, why that does not work very well. Uh, when you're
Oh,
smoking.
because of the smoking?
Yes,
Well, because you're putting something in your body that's not good for your body. And that they're actually, you think it's calming yourself down, but in actuality, it could be speeding up your brain process. So,
it's
um,
also interfering with the oxygen level. It's constricting
right.
your blood vessels, which would
Yep.
make you more tense. Um, so a lot of times, and sometimes we have comfort foods that people relate to, go to when they're stressed. Um, And they're
Mhm.
overpriced right now anyway in the stores, but they're usually not very effective, and at critical moments, you're gonna hear from those comfort foods and have to run out of the
Mhm.
room to the restroom, because they weren't in your body doing anything nutritionally well for you, and you don't ha it takes away your energy, so, those are all tricks that we've trained, we believe that, "I need this because I'm stressed," and what you're showing doesn't
Yep.
cost any money. It's more effective. And, practice doesn't mean necessarily put it in your calendar and say, okay, at 3 o'clock now, that's a bad time of the day. I'm going to just breathe. Well, you can actually learn to breathe even during a meeting and nobody knows
Right.
without tuning it, you can pay attention to the boss telling everybody they're getting ready to lay off half the company and just keep breathing. And,
Mhm.
it's not making the events that you're worried about bad any better, but it's changing your reaction, your response to them. And when
Right.
you have a
Reset
healthy
one.
response, you're better able to cope and come up with other
Mhm.
alternative thoughts.
This
Um,
this particular method of reset one activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So it slows the heart rate, signals safety to the brain, reduces cholesterol. I mean, to me, it's the perfect thing if you're, like you said, if you're in a meeting, let's say you need to get up and talk to everybody and it's something they don't like to hear or they don't want to listen to you and you're getting nervous or whatever. You can sit there in your chair and just you can keep your eyes open, just pick something to look at and just do it in your mind. They don't even know you're doing it. They don't even need to know you're doing it. It's just you could take 30 seconds out just to do 3 big, long, deep breaths, relaxing, meditating a little bit in your own mind, and then you reset so you can face the stress of that meeting without being stressed out. So you can do it in a bathroom, if you don't want people to see you taking deep breaths. I've done that before. I've gone in the bathroom, shut the stall, and just stood there and actually did deep breathing exercises. I loved Qigong for that. So I was doing Qigong and moving my energy around and trying to replace my energy from all the chaos up here and put it down into like my legs because I needed to walk back and I could walk it out while I walk back and I could clear my mind so I can think more clearly and speak more clearly during these meetings. It's just I know what was the old one? We see them in their underwear thing,
well,
but
no,
I
they
always
didn't
say,
say it. When I took Dale Carnegie, they said, imagine everybody in their birthday suits.
yeah,
And
yeah,
um,
yeah. That's
that's a
that's always
horrifying thought.
something.
Because if they're
I think it
imagining
works better.
you and your birthday, yeah. But
I
this is
think,
a
yeah,
tweaked up version of what Dale Carnegie was teaching years ago.
right.
Um,
Well, this you internalize, so I think it works better.
and
So,
when we internalize, though, a lot of times, we're hard on ourselves naturally. I think I'm not quite sure why human nature is. Maybe it's probably generational trauma and everything that we were born with that tendency. But it's important to know that when you're breathing and you don't need to be judging yourself or judging the situation that you're in.
mhm.
It's when I look back now in this decade that I'm living in and think about all the times I was so stressed out 30, 40, 50 years ago, and I wasted so much energy because they really weren't important moments in the whole scheme of things.
Mm,
Um, so if we can keep things in perspective and just understand that whatever it is, you're going to get through it because you always do. Uh, Hopefully, we learn from past choices that maybe weren't as effective. Um, and we have to keep reminding ourselves that our mind really is the captain and very strong, and it wants to please. It wants us to be happy. Uh,
mhm.
Sometimes we have conflicts when we decide that we don't deserve to be happy or we don't deserve this promotion that we're going to have a meeting with. Um, so it's complicated, but it's not as complicated as we make it. We always make it harder than it has to be. Uh, I tell
That's
people
interesting you said that.
the
Go ahead.
anxiety of a particular event, which is almost paralyzing you as you face an event. It's never as bad as the actual event. I don't say never, but in most situations, it's not as bad as
Mhm.
the event. So if you can get rid of the anxiety, just as easy as brushing your teeth, and that's really how simple this is. You can even while you're brushing your teeth, when you check in the mirror, you're all done. Just take a couple deep breaths, and you're ready to face the world. Some people do it unconsciously their whole life. Even they don't even know where they learned that to model that, but it makes a
Yeah,
big difference.
yeah, this is this step 1, this reset 1 is your breath, and it's the fastest reset tool, but you are gonna be hearing about more very
Well,
shortly.
we come back after the break. We'll take the next step then. Thank you.
subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to The Holistic Nurse. Dr. Gloria Warren and I are talking about just resetting our life in 5-minute steps. Your day, resetting your day. You're not going to reset your life in 5 minutes, but you can get a start on it, because it's all baby steps. Sometimes, don't think about the entire day or month that's ahead of you. Just think about getting through until coffee break, or whatever. Gloria, talk about mental clearing and how we get rid of all the garbage that's in our head so that we can do this.
Sometimes your body feels overwhelmed, but also your thoughts. So step by step, a mental declutter. This is reset number 2. Reset number 2. Declutter your mind. Okay. Step by step. Number 1, take a piece of paper. And number 2, write down everything on your mind. No structure, just here, there. It's like a network map, what I call it in business. So you just kind of write these things down all over the paper. Get it out of your head. Now, sometimes I'll take them and I'll start connecting. Oh, okay, this is first, this is second, my lists, and then it can be transferred to lists. But get it out of your head either way, onto paper. And then turn around and circle the items you can control. If you can control this, circle it. Walk my dog. Yes, I can control that. Well, I can do that. Okay. Go to the store and complain or something. I don't know, whatever it is, or make sure you can get lower prices. Maybe that's out of your control, so you don't circle it. Let the rest go, though. That's the idea. Let the things you cannot change go. Done with. Hey, I can't change that, so I'm not going to try. So let me concentrate on the things I can change that are simple for me to do. And I can easily do them and get them out of the way. And then look at your list. You can make a list from that, which I usually do, but that's just me. Circle what you can. Everything else, leave it. Visual transformation. That's what we're going to work on here. Before, in your mind, that is, you're overwhelmed, scattered, constant mental noise, people pulling at you, phone calls. Do you have this yet? You got to do this, that. Afterward, though, visibly, you see it on paper. It's there, it's organized, and it's manageable. So the main takeaway here is your brain is not designed to hold everything. Nobody's brain is. It was designed to process and release. We're not supposed to hold on to these thoughts. Kind of reminds me, Peggy, like, in school, you got an exam coming up. Oh, you just take the exam, get a good grade, and what happens a week later? I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't remember that stuff, but that's because your brain was wasn't designed to hold all this information. In the back in hundreds of years ago, you didn't have to remember calculus and algorithms and processes, and they didn't even practically know what a network map was. So you need to form your life and your daily routine around processing things, but then letting them go. Only keeping what's really necessary in your brain. Rely on other people for their knowledge too. And that's hard for some people to do, especially if they're control freaks. I just like, oh, that you got to talk to so and so about. Call Peggy on that. She's better than that than I am, and I let it go because Peggy will get it and the question and she knows more about it. So,
Well, just put it in a more concrete term by comparison. We don't. You can compare what we're showing us to do with our mind, kind of how we treat our bodies. Sometimes
mhm,
we eat everything we can, or all our favorites and all that, but we don't keep it in our body. Our body takes what we need, and then we flush the rest of it.
yeah,
So by writing it on paper, you're essentially flushing some of the stuff that you didn't know you didn't need, but it's nice to crumble it up and, yeah, get it in the wastebasket. Um, so this isn't something new. This is something that on various levels in different primitive cultures, people had their own way of doing the same thing, but they just didn't understand what we know about the mind here.
right.
So,
Yeah.
and I
And,
know, go ahead.
it's called mental clearing, this step. So remember, that's the whole goal here is to get some mental clearing by doing this network map or list or however you want to call it, whatever, whichever works for you. But it works.
And the good thing about lists, when you're done with the things that really need to be on the list, you cross it off and you can also see your progress. And that motivates you to continue because this is something that works.
Right. It reduces cognitive overload and it creates more mental space so you can maybe enjoy something in life and be more relaxed and maybe watch that movie you want to watch or perhaps go for a walk, you know. It also improves focus and clarity. So, why not try it? And I got to tell you a quick story about this. Um I sat down with those big calendars you get to sit on your desk and you put your
Mhm.
computer on
I
top and
stopped
all of
buying
this.
them because I don't use them.
Most of people do that, but I use them sometimes for my mom because she needs to see it and she's having a visual problem, so she can see it. And sometimes I use the back of the paper for network maps. So I had the one caregiver came in one day and she says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing myself a network map. It's a mental clearing." you know. So she's like, "Oh my gosh," you know, and I must have had 35 circled items on there of things I had to do day, that day. So, but then what I did was I started circling the main things, and then I connected them in order of which they needed to be done. And I could see visually what I had to do first. Get it off my plate as a project manager, get it off my plate, move on to the next. And it was good. I went just big X through each one of them as I went through. I finished more than half of what was on there, but the stress just went away because then I could see it visually. It was wonderful. I loved it. So that's what I use the back of those calendars for, to release my mental stress and get mental clarity. Otherwise, things keep racing through my head and it's back to that hamster wheel. And no, thank you. That's such a bad feeling. That causes anxiety. And it's like, I just don't want any more of that. So I put them to good use.
And, a lot of people face the April 15th deadline for taxes in our country that same way. You feel so good once midnight has passed, even if you didn't get everything, but it's done. Or even when you give it to your
Right.
accountant if you're not doing it yourself. But
Yes.
calendars are a good point. Would you think that the old-fashioned paper calendars are more effective for what you're describing?
For some,
Because
yeah,
when I
for
try
some
to
people.
keep that track in my phone, I have to go to a paper calendar anyway because I can't visualize my whole
I
week or
use
my
my
whole month.
phone and I check. But I think, like, for some people, it's good to see it so they can plan just with one glance, and that's always a plus. The one glance right there, and you can do what you want with it. It's like buying a new book or otherwise using an ebook. Sometimes a new book, you can make your notes right in it, and the ebook gets a little more. I like something I can hold, but I can go either way. But after you do the decluttering, you want to do a few deep breaths and reset the mental noise to calm it back down. Your brain's not designed to hold everything, and it doesn't was designed to process and release. So you guys, please, if you take anything away, take that away today with the breath. Okay. Those are two very important steps. Wonderful resets. I think that's definitely something to keep in mind.
I think, well,
So,
I had one of those dry erase calendars, and I had the brilliant idea 4 years ago. I found out yesterday when I noticed the calendar for the first time in 4 years. I put it on the door that I always walk through to go to my car. And that this way I'll know exactly what I'm doing in the daytime. And I happened to look over the other day and I saw it there and I said, 2012? Okay, wait a minute, I guess
yeah,
it wasn't very effective, so
wrong year.
tools are only as good as you use them. um, and not all tools are going to work for everybody. If something here doesn't resonate, we had a show last month about um, 3 to 15 minute hacks of managing your stress. There's so many ways of doing it, but almost all of them do have some component of taking a deep breath and just stopping for a minute and seeing where you're at. and
Hmm.
And one thing with breathing exercises too, it's important, and we do it unconsciously, but your legs should never be crossed because it actually blocks your energy. When you're trying to, release the old energy that you don't need and bring in fresh air and all that, if your legs are crossed, you're just working twice as hard as you have to, and it's not as effective.
Hmm.
Um, and
You
that
mentioned,
seems kind of crazy sometimes, but it's true. It,
yeah,
it does, you know. Um, Also, I
you, men-
think, like, when you get a massage and the masseuse, flushes out toxins and all, and they give you the bottle of water to drink, eh, symbolically, we never drink enough water, and I'm gonna mention water. But
yeah.
even after doing a mental decluttering, it's actually telling your body something like, "Okay, now we're gonna flush it all out and, really start fresh," get the blood
Hmm.
flowing and water is another part of the whole decluttering process, whether it's physical or mental. Um,
Right.
if you're not drinking enough water and you're dehydrated, it's going to be a lot harder to sort out those circles um, and the lines get
Good
blurry.
good clean water with good intentions in that water. If you're near somebody
Absolutely.
and something negative was happening, get rid of the water, get fresh water and have clean water because you don't want to take on, the water takes on the energy and you don't want to take on that dark energy or negative energy in your body when you're trying to get rid of all this mental clutter. So, I mean, water is so important. And you mentioned energy, and I just want to say something quickly about energy. When I look at energy in the world of somebody to keep them healthy, there's circles radiating out. And as somebody grows older, you go out to the next level of the circle because more and more things, negative things happen in the human body, you know, fact of nature, you know. But when you do the deep breaths, I do know that it's somewhere around the third circle, um, your posture starts to go. And that's when more and more goes wrong in your body because you're slouching and it's pressing your ribs in and your lungs can't inhale all the way. There's tension there. So you don't realize on how little you're breathing. So when you do the deep breaths, remember to straighten your body up and then you can do the mental declutter. It'll actually come more easily for you. And then we'll talk about step 3 next, the reset number 3.
Okay. Well, we're going to take another brief break and we'll finish with step 3 then. We'll be right back.
author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back to our final segment of this week's Holistic Nurse, as we're talking about 5-minute ways of techniques to reset our day when we're feeling a little bit overwhelmed and stressed. With Dr. Gloria Warren, would you like to talk about step 3, Gloria?
Yeah, reset 3, it's great. It's about environment and the awareness. We are human beings on this globe, and with all this nature and everything else, you have to look at your environment, even indoors and outdoors. So there's a 5-minute reset, step-by-step one. So here it goes. Number 1, step outside or near a window. Look out and notice your surroundings. That's number 2. Notice your surroundings. And then number 3, engage your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? So feel the ground beneath your feet. Indoors, go outside perhaps and feel the ground as well. There's energy coming through that ground that may not be going through your house. So feel that ground. I take my shoes off on my front patio and I just walk out there. Okay, doggy, come on, and there I am. So I feel that ground. I take slow, deep breaths and let your eyes rest on something natural, like a tree or the grass, or look at the grass. Look at some of those, what people call weeds, but actually may be very medicinal. So this works because it grounds the nervous system. It reduces stress and it reconnects you to the present moment. It's called sensory grounding, and it brings your body out of the stress mode. Wonderful, wonderful reset. It's really easy for this one, because I was a kid that never liked to wear shoes. I would climb trees. I was like tomboy, here I go. And I didn't really, I wasn't around a lot of friends. I was very isolated. So I could appreciate just walking outside without my shoes on. I mean, I could feel energy coming up from that earth that I couldn't feel in the house. There are different types of energy in the house, but not the same energy. So it's important to get out in nature for sensory grounding. You can do it inside if you feel you can. I mean, you have to feel the energy that comes through you. You got to get to know yourself, get to know that energy, and see if you can connect with it. Qigong, my favorite. I like Qigong and I like yoga, and I combine the two. I'm also a Reiki master, so I put energy through myself as I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. I'm bringing the energy down from the universe, and then I'm clearing it and bringing it out. And if it's bad energy, throw it down to the earth, because Mother Nature will take care of it. But you need to focus on yourself. Otherwise, the stress No good. So reset 1, breathing. Reset 2, that there got into
Decluttering and clearing.
decluttering your mind, right? Very important. And then, of course, reset 3 now, regrounding yourself. It works. Sensory grounding works. Best in nature, though. There's something about that, those energy of those plants there, Peggy. It's just wonderful the way the plants give off energy in itself. And go hug a tree. I mean, um, go take a cobble squat underneath the trees, sit there and just relax and lay down on a blanket and just, have a picnic, the old fashioned kind, not the kind where you go down to the coffee shop and camp out in the coffee shop for a couple hours. Go outside, be with nature. Coffee can go with you, Pick up some nice treats for yourself and just relax. Bring a friend, talk, but don't sit on your cell phone. It just winds up your mind more. The blue light winds up your mind. You got to get away from the blue light at least 2 hours before you go to sleep at night. Same with the TV. Television also gives off blue light. Turn the blue light off on your computers so during the day it doesn't disrupt your brain, your thought process. By the way, if you shut your computer down and you go back up, it may actually come back on. Warning. So, uh, this grounding, though, is phenomenal.
Well, I know last weekend, actually, we were here in Philadelphia just so tired of the cold weather and rain and miserable skies that a friend and I, we made a point to go to a local arboretum and just enjoy the sun. We were starving for sun, is what it felt like. And it's
Nice.
such a big difference in setting the tone for the week that we're in now, so um, you were speaking the truth here.
Yeah.
Well, we have very briefly, why don't you tell people how they can reach you? And, you're not just a scientist, not that that just a scientist is, I didn't mean the
No,
word
no,
just,
I know what you mean.
but,
Right.
you have other skills and talents. And why don't you share with them
Yeah.
and tell people how to reach you?
Well, I have a doctorate in research, and then I've also an epidemiologist, amongst other things. And then I'm also, I have a show. I'm a medical intuitive from birth, and I've been doing it my whole life. So I have my show, Medical Intuitive Insights, with Dr. Gloria Warren on YouTube. Peggy and I team up quite often, actually, and I truly enjoy it. So, but if you need to get a hold of me, 715-892-7500. And if text is best, because I've trying to declutter my life too, and it's easier just to check text. I do answer, I do reply, and I welcome any questions, any comments, or if you want to be seen by me, you can always go ahead and text me and we can talk.
So, well,
Such a
thank
joy
you
to be.
very much for this very helpful information. As we get ready to face a new week, and we're all going to be ready for it. And if we're not perfectly ready for every situation, we'll just go to the restroom or step outside for a minute and breathe.
Only 5 minutes tops.
So, thanks a lot. Welcome. We'll see you guys next week on the Holistic Nurse, same time on YouTube. The Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith. Dr. Gloria Warren's show is on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Did I get that right?
Eastern
Of
time, yes.
Eastern time, yes. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Have a good week.
This has been The Holistic Nurse with host Peggy Smith. Tune in each week where you're encouraged to send in questions and receive private responses and suggestions if appropriate. Here's Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern.